Here we go. Woo! Woo! Yeah! Welcome to Unsigned with White Crone, aka Lisa Mann. Welcome to the show. Lovely to meet you. How are you?
Well, lovely to be here. Very happy to be chatting with you today from miles and miles away.
Miles and miles away. Tell us, whereabouts are you? Lisa, would you want to be called Lisa Mann or Miss Crone, or you know?
You can call me Ray. You can call me Jake. No, Lisa's fine.
Lisa is. Lisa, where are you calling from today?
From Portland, Oregon, and no, it is not on fire. No, it's fine.
So we're here to talk to you about heavy metal, because obviously you're a heavy metal maestro, but you're also a seasoned musician of some repute, I believe. Lisa Mann, blues musician. Want to tell us about that first?
Yeah, that's my living, and that's what I do. Is I play bass, I sing, I write songs, I make records. I'm a blues artist. Lisa Mann. I'm easy to find. MANN. And yeah, that's what I do. So, but when I was a kid, when I was first playing bass, it was all like Steve Harris and Timmy Hansen, and I was just a real metalhead. So I finally ended up making my own metal album eventually. Took me a while, but I got there eventually.
Go on.
Yeah, so how did it come together? Tell us how it happened.
Well, I've had the experience as an independent artist and producer of making my own CDs. I'm not the engineer. I work with an engineer named Kevin Hahn at Opal Studio in Portland. And but I've been writing CDs and making CDs. So it was actually after I heard Ghost, Cerise. I know a lot of people crap on Ghost, but I love Ghost.
Yeah.
Because he really doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks about what he's doing. And he's just writing songs. He's an excellent arranger, song crafter. And I heard this and I was like, bing! And it was like, well, I call myself the unfrozen cave woman of metal, because I feel like I just, all my references are 70s and 80s, you know? So here I come popping out. I felt like that song, Cerise, just like melted me. And all of a sudden, all these songs just started growing in my head. I would just be walking down, I would take a walk and I'd hear these melodies. I'd take a shower and I have to get out of the shower and sing something into my phone. So that's really how it started. And it took a couple of years because I'm still producing and working and touring as a blues artist at the time. And I just basically made a metal album in my spare time.
That's so cool. And I love the album.
Thank you. Well, I taught myself how to play guitar so I could make this record. I played most of the guitar. Mehdi Farjami from Glacier did a couple of solos. He's a former Glacier guitar player. He did a few solos that were just like way over my head. But for the most part, I played guitar on it, taught myself how to. So, between me and Pro Tools, I sound pretty good.
Yeah.
If you edit me enough, I do okay. So thank you.
So you literally never played the guitar until putting this album together, is that right?
Not really. I mean, I tried playing some guitar as a teenager, but I've always been a bass player, always been, mostly I could just like G, A, D. I could play some chords on an acoustic guitar or something. So I really had to knuckle down, and I just started watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I started watching tutorials about songs that I wanted to learn how to play. Iron Maiden songs, Judas Priest, Beyond the Realms of Death, and stuff like that. And I actually have a picture behind my computer. It's a picture of Glenn Tipton on my wall. So when I'm practicing guitar, all right, what would Glenn Tipton do? And he's kind of my muse for guitar.
Amazing.
Who played drums?
Oh, it's a guy named Larry London, and it's not the Larry London that people think, because that guy's passed away, a famous guy. This guy lives in a town called Salem. It's about 45 minutes south of here, and he's a drum instructor. And he's got some incredible students. And I've worked with him before on a project called Cry for Eden. It was a symphonic metal project. And so I knew this was the guy. This is the guy that could do it. Because I wrote all these drum parts and I taught myself, I actually took a lesson from him so I wouldn't hurt myself. I taught myself I bought an electric drum kit and taught myself how to play just well enough, again, YouTube videos, just well enough to write the parts and record them at home, because I did all the pre-production at home. And then I sent them to him, and then he played them for real, because one of these days I'm going to release my drum parts and people are going to get a laugh, because I really suck on the drums. But I get the idea out,
I think that's pretty impressive. I've been learning drums for about 3 years, and
oh wow, that
doesn't sound like any mean feat, just to play all the songs on your album.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really especially if you're a stringed instrument player, to just coordinate your entire body like that. So good, kudos to you, because I knew there's no way. I wanted to do the whole one-person band thing, but I didn't want to sit there. I didn't want to do electronic.
Yeah.
But after I saw what the learning curve is with drums, I was like, no, I'm gonna hire a real drummer.
So tell us about the songwriting process. You're first and foremost a bass player. Is that how you start out writing all your songs? You start out with a bass line and work from there?
Well, no, actually, I start out here, so I have to hear it. I hear it first, and sometimes it's a bass line. And there was one kind of mega jam that I recorded. I just turned it on and I just started playing some licks, and I pulled out some licks from that. It was like this long half-hour recording, just screwing around, and I got parts from that. But for the most part, I do not write on an instrument. I write in my head, and so if I hear it, usually I'll hear a bass line, because that's what I hear. But sometimes a lot of times it'll be a vocal line. It'll be, sometimes it's what I think is going to be, like the first song on the album is The Dream of Tiamat. And what I thought was just going to be an interlude in the song ended up being the chorus of the song. So, I'll hear things, and just later on the work is arranging those parts and listening to the little snippets I'll record on my phone, and just listen to those little snippets and say, okay, this part can go with this part. How do we connect those two? So that's mainly my process. I just listen to it in my head and let those parts tell me what they want to do. So I let them talk to me. I know how to make a record. So it was like, okay, now I'm ready to do this. There's part of me that always says, I love blues. I absolutely love blues. I live for blues. I could listen to Jimmy Reed all freaking day. But there's a part of me that was like, I left metal and became a top 40 musician. I was just a bar musician for so long. And then I came to blues and became a recording artist. But there's a part of me that's always been like, why didn't I, do metal when I was in my 20s? Why didn't I do it then? But I wasn't equipped to do it then. So maybe I would have done something that, would have just sucked. So I feel like I'm equipped to do it now. And I'm actually working with a band called Splintered Throne as their vocalist. And they've produced a few albums in the past. They're in the recording studio right now. So after this interview, I'm going to go over there and breathe down the bass player's neck.
Fantastic. So Splintered Throne, That is that a side project? Would that be the White Crone band if you took White Crone on the road, or would you? What's the deal there?
Probably not, because they're their own thing, and it's got more, I don't know, more power metal and thrash metal influences, you know. So I think a White Crone band, it's just, White Crone is just a very different flavor than Splintered Throne. So I really don't have any plans to take it on the road yet. But if there's demand for it, I've always just intended it to be a recording project. But it would take a lot to put it there.
Your singing voice is incredible, and that's all I've got to say about it.
Yeah, it's super powerful. It's like when we first lined up the interview, I sent a message to Amy and I described you as what was it, Dio-esque, and it's so like, especially on things like The Poisoner, and obviously you did Stargazer, the cover. Ronnie James comes through. You're channeling him brilliantly.
Thank you very much. I mean, that's how I learned how to sing. Was singing along with Holy Diver, Sacred Heart, and singing along with Iron Maiden. I also sang along with my Merciful Fate records, which my mom did not like at all. But but really Dio was such an influence. And thank you for the kind words, because I mean, I knew going in that releasing this track was that some people were just going to say, that's sacrilege. You can't sing this. But I've been through this before with blues, because I recorded a cover of Etta James, At Last, as a blues artist. And so people are like, oh, nobody could sing it like Etta James. I'm like, I don't imagine that it could. I don't think anybody could sing Stargazer the way Dio sang it. But, I hope I did it justice. Thank you for the kind words. I got Vinny Appice to play drums on that track, which was really freaking cool. I pinch myself. Alistair Green is a blues rock guitar player, is doing really well. And Eric Lawrence is actually a guy, he's a keyboard player that I was in a band with when I was like 17 years old. Because I wanted somebody that was from my past. And he's a prog rock guy, so he just nailed it.
You're super well connected, obviously. How do you pull all these people in? Are they all kind of in your neck of the woods, or how do you get them to Portland, or do you go to them?
No. Actually, it was remote tracked. Everything was remote tracked, except for the keyboard player. He came over to our house and we tracked here, because my husband Alan, he's got some great recording software, and he knows what he's doing. So. Vinny, I've actually never met Vinny Appice. You know how I got him to play on The Poisoner? I cold called him. It was actually not The Poisoner. He played on a blues album of mine called Hard Times, Bad Decisions. And so there was a song that I wrote that has it's got this slow beat. It's like 60 beats per minute or something. And I heard Vinny in my head, and I was like, it's a song called Judge a Man Forever. And I thought, why don't I just ask him? So I just Googled him, and I found an email address. An email and said, would you be interested in doing this? And he said yes. Wow. I sent him a song that was similar, and just to show him that, hey, I know what I'm doing. And he said yes. So, and he tracked this one for me. He tracked Stargazer. He tracked Under Hagstones on The Poisoner. And he also tracked another song that's sitting here in my DAW. It's sitting over here. Eventually it'll come out.
You mentioned your DAW, and you mentioned that your husband's got lots of recording gear at home. What do you use when you're at home recording to do your demos and stuff?
I've got a program called Samplitude,
right,
and that's what he uses as well. And having been in the studio editing with Kevin, he uses Pro Tools, and I can see that it's very similar. And it's got all these bells and whistles, which I don't freaking understand, But it's also, it wasn't too hard for me to learn. He showed me, you know, what to do. Alan showed me some really basic things. And there's a guy with a really droning voice on YouTube who will give you these tutorials. But I don't have the patience. So I just go, hey, Alan, how do you do this? So he's been really helpful. But I enjoy it. I enjoy, you know, tracking and editing. I'm not good at mixing. I'm not so hot with that, but that's why I work with a proper engineer.
Tell us about the name White Crone.
Well, my original idea, because the song 18 Rabbit is kind of the, you know how Iron Maiden would put their epic long song at the end of the album? That's why 18 Rabbit is at the end of the album. But that song is kind of the heart of the whole album. And I wanted to call the project 18 Rabbit. And my original idea was to do this anonymously, to not have Lisa Mann, the blues artist, associated with it. And so I thought, okay, 18 Rabbit, but there's already a band called 18 Rabbit. And so after a while, after discussing with some people and some friends in the music industry, they're like, just own it. You know, don't do this anonymously, just own it. That's who you are. A lot of people in the music industry, they know I'm a metalhead anyway. I mean, I show up to a blues gig with a Slayer bag, you know. And so, you know, they know I'm a metalhead anyway. So, and it also allowed me to promote to some of those people, because there's a lot of people who love metal that are blues fans too. So I had to think of a name that wasn't taken.
Yeah.
And so many cool names are taken. And so I was like, why don't I just really own it and like make an alter ego? Because I'm really into Kiss. I grew up on Kiss. I grew up on Ghost, Alice Cooper, stuff like that, King Diamond, you know, to have an alter ego. And so that's what White Crone is. And I am a woman of a certain age. And I am very pale skinned, as you can see. So White Crone fit.
It sounds
it's descriptive. I'm old and I'm pale, so you know. Hey, but I got to see all the great concerts. I got to see Cliff Burton play bass.
So speaking of Cliff Burton, and you've already mentioned Steve Harris, are these your kind of root inspirations behind taking up the bass?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, at first, the first songs I ever played were from Deep Purple, Machine Head. My parents had this album, Machine Head, and I would plunk out the bass lines on my mom's acoustic guitar. And then I saw this bass it's a violin shaped like a copy of the Beatle bass, the Hofner. Okay. I saw it at a pawn shop, and I put $10 down on it when I was 11 years old. And I walked home from school every day. I saved my lunch money so I could buy this bass. And like the first album I was playing along with was Roger Glover. It was Deep Purple. They also had Black Sabbath, so I learned some of that. Cream, Led Zeppelin. So it was all this. And it's interesting because there's all these British bands that were into American blues. Mm-hmm. That had all these blues influences. So later on, when I came to blues, I was like, oh, okay, so that's what John Paul Jones was playing, you know? So yeah, it was John Paul Jones. And later on, somebody gave me an Iron Maiden album, and it was like, I'm off to the freaking races. So Steve Harris, Timmy Hansen of Merciful Fate, and King Diamond. Let's see, Bob Daisley of Ozzy Osbourne, and Jimmy Bain of Rainbow and Dio. Geddy Lee. Man, I learned a lot just playing along with Rush albums. And that's what I did. I mean, that's what I did as a teenager. I just played along with my records, you know, and sang along. So that's how I learned.
So it's all completely self-taught by kind of playing along by ear, learning the songs by ear. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I did a year of college, music college. It was supposed to be an associate's program, but they cut the program, sadly, in half after I took the first year. And that's how I kind of formalized the things that I already knew. Like I learned about the modes, and I had already been playing the modes because I was playing along with Iron Maiden, and everything, not everything, but most of the things they write are very modal. So it's like, oh, that's the Lydian mode. Oh, and that, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner part right there. So it was like, oh, okay, bing, 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 bing. It was like a light went off. And so it really helped me get context to what I was learning by ear.
What are the lyrical themes of your songs? Because you mentioned that you hear the tunes and the music first. So how does that work with then writing the lyrics?
Yeah. Sometimes it's an idea for a story, and then a line will come out of it. Who knows what's lying under hagstones? I heard the melody and I was like, okay. And then this zombie story kind of came up. So I really am attracted to, that's what I loved about King Diamond, is all the spooky stories. And White Crone as a persona is a storyteller. She's like the village wise woman telling stories. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, is like telling creepy tales. The dream of Tiamat was actually a dream I had as a teenager. It was a real dream, and I never forgot it. I woke up in this cave in the center of the earth, and I saw this snake with a goddess's head, this giant serpent queen goddess, and I was horrified but strangely attracted, and I was drawn to her, and she opened up her mouth and bit my head off. And the next thing I knew, I was looking out of her eyes.
Wow.
So I had I never fucking forgot that dream. So, I really wanted to put that in song, and also to express. So it's not just the lyrics, it's how you perform the lyrics. I mean, I've gotten really good reviews for this album. I'm very proud of that. But I had one negative review for Dream of Tiamat. They said the vocals sound shrieky.
What's wrong with that?
But I was like, yes, I'm terrified in the song, so I'm shrieking.
Wow, how can you
did that fucking deliberately, dude?
About metal, no shrieking. What?
Yeah, no shrieking in metal. Yeah.
Wow.
I heard on another interview that you did that when you were talking about how well received the Poison the album was, you outsold, was it Ozzy?
Yeah.
In your hometown, but tell us about that.
Yeah, it's my hometown record store, Music Millennium, and I had a. This is just before COVID shut everything down. This is in late February of 2020. And we had a CD release, and I just sang to some tracks, really, because I don't have a band. They do live album releases and signings and stuff like this at this record store. And I outsold Ozzy, because Ozzy released that same Friday. So I outsold Ozzy 2 weeks in a row. I was like, take that, Ozzy.
Are you like bursting with ideas for more songs? What's next?
Mm.
I have a few songs that are in skeletal form, and the problem I'm having right now, well, for one thing, I'm really focused on Splintered Throne. Mm-hmm. We've been crafting these songs for a year and dealing with the pandemic, and people have day jobs and stuff like that. So we're finally getting the studio. I've been focusing on that. I also have the blues stuff that I'm doing and promotions with blues and Americana. But the main issue I'm having is I need to get better on guitar. Because the stuff that I'm coming up with for the next album is going to be more guitar intensive. And maybe I will hire a real guitar player. I don't know. But I need to get, I can hear this stuff in my head, but it's hard to execute. So, man, these strings, these strings are too small. Look at these strings.
They're quite fiddly, aren't they?
They hurt.
It's a nice looking guitar.
That is a nice guitar.
Now this is what I'm talking. This is my bass. This is what I'm talking about right
Six
here.
stringer.
That's right.
That's
You know, big and meaty and
yeah.
that's my Tobias.
Whoa. That is
So
a
this is what I'm
wide
used to.
What gauge strings are on that?
They're lights.
Right.
They're D'Addario XLs. They're lights. They're really old.
Is that very heavy though? That like weighty?
9 pounds?
Right. Is it a short scale?
No.
No, it's full length.
Yeah.
That must work well. 9 pounds. I would. Yeah.
It's
I
not.
would have thought that weighs a ton.
It's swamp ash. You know, you can see by the width of the between the rings of the wood
Yeah.
that it's a lighter. But this is what I'm used to, man. I'm not used to these tiny little strings and they're all jammed together.
It's kind of like quite proggy to have a 6-string bass for especially for a blues musician. Like
Yeah. Well, I've been playing 6 strings since I think I bought my first 6 string when I was 19. I was also really into Man-O-War. I was really into Man-O-War, so I bought an 8-string bass and a 6-string
an
bass.
8-string bass.
Yeah, I got an 8-string bass, and you can hear that on the song "Broken." Broken. That's that weird chimey sound that you hear on "Broken."
That's an interesting song, like thematically, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the few real world songs that's on the album. And it's probably the grimmest song on the album. It's about how women throughout history, mothers throughout history, have been the ones to execute the oppressive practices of their culture. So female circumcision wasn't done by the father, it was done by the mother. In China, when they'd break the little girls' feet and bind their feet, it was done by the mother so that she could get married. In some islands where they, tattoo the girl's legs, like she's screaming while they're tattooing her legs, and they're like, well, nobody's going to marry you if I don't do this. And this is in the American South. I will beat you into submission and you will not speak because, we're going to find you a proper Christian husband and he's not going to want to hear what you have to say. So it's kind of, it's kind of a call to us women to not pass these, it's up to us to not pass these evil traditions down anymore.
Mm.
So that's one of the 2 real life songs. The other one is about homelessness. It's, see, now I can't even remember the name of the damn song, and I don't have the CD. But, I wanted to have a song about Edge of Gone, a song about what it's like to be mentally ill and living in a city and being kind of forgotten. So that's probably the most like Sabbathy kind of song on the record.
That's one of my faves.
Yes, mine too. We were talking about that, in fact, just earlier, and remarking on how Sabbathy it was. And,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Geezer, man. Geezer Butler. There's another huge influence for me as a bass player.
You're like a sponge, aren't you? Just like...
Yeah. I think, and I recommend that to any musician. Really just, and you're playing drums, so just listen to a lot of drummers. That's people ask, what advice do you have for musicians, for budding musicians? And it's just to listen. Don't just start playing along right away too. If you're trying to learn some stuff, just really let it soak in so that those, and if you can like cop the style of 100 different drummers, 100 different bass players, eventually you come to your own style, because you'll just take little bits and pieces of all of them, put it together, in a unique way.
So, should we talk about the song "The Poisoner" in particular, and sort of talk about that? It starts off with a thumping bass line, obviously.
Yeah.
That's
And the
your-
bass, and the bass line is actually, it's in a different key than the song.
Mm.
So, you know, I had this intro, and like I said, I would take these parts of songs and put them together. And I was like, no, this works, but it's a hammer-on, so it doesn't work in the key of D. It's just impossible to play, for me anyway, in the key of D. So I was like, so just play it in E and then do the song in D. So there's that. And I love Judas Priest's songwriting too, because they come up with these mythical characters, you know, and the Sentinel. So this song is about like a mythical assassin, and he exists throughout time. He's immortal, and so the song places him in ancient China. It places him. It's in Japan in the video. It's a real Zen priest in my video. And talk about being connected. Those people I'm connected with. So it takes place in this Zen temple. There's an assassination there. It takes place in a Victorian household, and there's an assassination there. So he could travel through time. And so I just wanted to do something, you know, it's a little schlocky. I just love schlocky horror kind of stuff, you know. And and then there's this cup makes its entrance in the video. My dad actually acted in the video, and he drank from this cup, and his wife, you know, that he abuses in the video is actually a friend of mine. And she spits in the tea, and then the assassin comes behind and pours poison in the tea, and then drops dead.
Nice.
So yeah, mainly it's just like I want to do a Judas Priest kind of a song. I don't care if it's, you know, people might say my stuff is derivative, but to me it's like I just want to pay homage to all these bands that I just love, and so there's a lot of Easter eggs in these songs.
What's the timing of it? At the beginning, it kind of like seems out of phase with the drums when they kind of come in. Have I just kind of misheard that because maybe it's the different key thing? It sounds like there's an odd sort of thing at the beginning, and it kind of comes in, and then starts kind of the riff comes in and gets done. Kind of, I don't know. It sounds out of sync at the beginning, like intentionally, kind of two different timings that come together. Or have I misheard that?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I know it's kind of like the intro to Rock and Roll, that Led Zeppelin tune. I can't freaking hear it, right? I can't hear it in time. I just hear it the way I hear it. So I can see how if nobody is counting it in 1, 2, 3, 4, but because that first note is a pickup note.
That might be
You know, it's a pickup note, so I can hear how it would. It's like, where's one?
Yeah.
Ghost has a song like that too. Now which one? There's a song that's on Prequel that's like that I freaking hear it wrong every time.
I like that.
I can't hear it right.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh.
And your mind kind of comes round to the way of thinking of the song. It's like it's a nice trick.
Yeah, you know, I love people to watch the video, The Poisoner. You know, it's a live action video. It's got like acting. I made all my friends act. I've got a friend who's a saxophone player, and I was like, dude, you are the butler. You look like a butler. So yeah, he looks like straight out of Central Casting, man, this dude.
Well, we should roll the video.
We should roll the video. Let's play it now.